Welcome to back my channel hidden in pockets, jars, and forgotten drawers. Ordinary-looking pennies may be silent time bombs of destiny. These tiny 1-cent coins from America's past have shocked collectors, rewriting lives with unimaginable value. What looks like spare change can, under rare conditions, command fortunes that defy logic. Miss it, and you lose everything. Recognize it, and history rewards you. Before you spend another coin, listen carefully. This story could change your fortune overnight beyond anything you imagined possible. The story of the 1951-cent coin does not begin with copper or minting machines, but with silence. A quiet moment in American history when the world was recovering, rebuilding, and dreaming again. In that moment, a small coin was born, unnoticed by most, underestimated by all. This 1 cent carried no promise on its face. It looked ordinary, almost invisible among the noise of daily trade. People spent it without a second thought, never imagining that time itself would turn this humble coin into a symbol of possibility. In 1950, America stood at the edge of a new era. Factories roared, families grew, and the future felt wide open. The penny produced that year absorbed this energy, this optimism, as if history itself pressed meaning into its metal. Every strike of the mint left more than an image. It left intention. Each coin carried microscopic differences, tiny secrets invisible to the human eye, waiting patiently for decades to be discovered by those who know how to look. As years passed, most of these coins vanished into circulation, worn smooth by countless hands. But a few escaped that fate. A few survived untouched, protected, hidden away, sleeping while the world changed around them. Time is the greatest sculptor. It does not destroy value. It reveals it. The fewer coins that remain in pristine condition, the louder their silence becomes. Rarity is not created in a day. It is forged across generations. Collectors understand something others don't. Value is not only about metal. It is about survival. A 1951-cent coin that remains flawless is not just rare. It is a witness that refused to fade. When such a coin appears today, it feels almost unreal. The sharp lines, the original surface, the untouched character, it feels like opening a sealed door to the past. That moment alone can make hearts race. In the world of serious collectors, condition is destiny. A single imperfection can separate a common coin from a legendary one. And perfection, when it exists, commands attention like nothing else. Whispers began long ago that certain 1950 cents were different. Struck with unusual force, unusual alignment, or unusual detail, these coins stood apart, quietly rewriting their own fate. Some were preserved by accident, others by instinct. A drawer, a box, a forgotten envelope. These ordinary hiding places became vaults of unimaginable future value. Decades later, when experts examine such a coin, they are not just grading metal. They are measuring history's patience. A flawless survivor from 1950 feels almost defiant against time. In rare circumstances, when all factors align, condition, uniqueness, demand, the value of a coin transcends logic. Numbers climb rapidly. Thousands become hundreds of thousands. Legends are born in auction rooms. The idea of a penny changing a life is not fantasy. It is the extreme edge of rarity meeting desire. When collectors compete, price becomes secondary to ownership. A coin like this does not announce itself. It waits. It allows doubt. It rewards knowledge. Those who dismiss it as pocket change lose the chance forever. Stories circulate of people unknowingly holding fortunes, spending history for nothing, unaware that their coin carried the weight of decades and the hunger of collectors worldwide. The 1951-cent coin teaches patience. It proves that value is not loud. It hides. It tests belief. It punishes haste and rewards restraint. In today's market, where scarcity drives obsession, a perfect survivor from 1950 is not measured in cents. It is measured in impact, in shock, in disbelief. To hold such a coin is to hold a question. How did this survive? Why this one? What path did it take while millions like it disappeared? That mystery alone adds power. Humans do not only buy objects, they buy stories. And this coin story is written across 75 years of survival. When people speak of overnight fortune, they misunderstand the truth. The wealth was never sudden. It was quietly growing year after year inside a forgotten cent. This coin does not promise riches. It demands understanding. Those who rush see nothing. Those who study see everything. The history of the 1950 cent is not about money alone. It is about overlooked things becoming extraordinary simply by enduring. Every generation loses pieces of the past. The few that remain untouched become anchors, reminders, and treasures beyond expectation. If you ever encounter a 1951 cent coin that feels different, looks different, survives differently, pause. History may be testing you. Do not measure it by its size. Do not judge it by its face value. Coins like this defy surface logic. True power often hides in the smallest form. This penny proves it. Not every coin is destiny, but some are. And when destiny and rarity collide, even 1 cent can rewrite a life. That is why this coin is not spent. It is studied, protected, respected, because sometimes fortune does not roar. Sometimes it whispers from copper. The story of the 1952 1-cent coin begins quietly, without applause or headlines, in a time when the world believed small things had little power. No one noticed the moment it entered existence, yet history was already leaning toward it. In 1952, America was moving forward with confidence, unaware that even its smallest currency was absorbing the weight of the era. This penny was born into motion, trade, and ambition, never knowing it would one day become a subject of obsession. At first glance, the coin appeared ordinary. It passed from hand to hand, unnoticed, undervalued, dismissed as insignificant. That dismissal became its greatest disguise. Every coin has a life, and some live louder than others. The 1952 cent lived silently, surviving pockets, drawers, and years that erased millions of its kind. Time does not treat all objects equally. While most coins fade, some resist. They remain sharp, untouched, almost defiant against decay, as if refusing to surrender their identity. Within the metal of this coin lies patience. Decades pass, governments change, markets rose and fell, yet a few of these cents waited perfectly still, storing potential that no one could measure at the time. History favors survivors. A 1952 1-cent coin that remains flawless is not just old. It is rare in spirit. Survival alone elevates it beyond its face value. Collectors do not chase metal. They chase moments frozen in time. When such a coin surfaces today, it feels less like money and more like discovery. There is a certain tension in holding something that was never meant to last this long. The coin feels heavier than it should, not because of weight, but because of meaning. Some 1952 cents were struck with subtle differences, tiny irregularities that separate them from the ordinary. These differences are invisible to the careless, but obvious to those who understand. As years passed, knowledge grew. People began to realize that not all pennies are equal, and not all history is written in books. Some history lives in copper. A perfectly preserved 1952 cent stands apart like a whisper in a crowded room. It does not demand attention. It commands it. When collectors encounter such a coin, the air changes. Conversations slow. Hands steady. Because perfection from the past is rare, and rarity fuels desire. Value is not born overnight. It matures. It grows quietly as supply disappears and demand sharpens. This is how legends are created. The idea that a single cent could hold unimaginable wealth sounds impossible until you understand how scarcity works. When almost everything is gone, what remains becomes priceless. Stories circulate of people who unknowingly spent coins that could have changed their lives. Not because the coin was magical, but because it was misunderstood. The 1952 penny teaches a harsh lesson. Ignorance spends fortunes, while knowledge protects them. Coins like this do not shout their worth. They wait for the right moment, the right hands, the right understanding. In modern times, when collectors search relentlessly for untouched survivors, a pristine 1952 cent becomes more than an object. It becomes a prize. Competition does strange things to value. When two determined minds want the same rare survivor, numbers lose meaning and emotion takes control. This is how prices climb beyond logic. This is how small objects create large consequences. The myth of overnight wealth is misleading. The fortune was always there, growing quietly while the world looked away. A coin like this does not create wealth. It reveals it to those patient enough to recognize it. The history of the 1952 1-cent coin is not written in numbers, but in restraint. The restraint not to spend. The restraint not to dismiss. Every scratch avoided. Every year untouched. Every moment preserved adds to its silent strength. Some coins are common because they live too loudly. Others are rare because they live quietly. The 1952 cent belongs to the second category. Its power lies in its refusal to disappear. To hold such a coin today is to hold a question mark from the past. Why this one? How did it survive? What future does it still carry? These questions add value no scale can measure. True collectors do not ask what a coin is worth today. They ask what it could become tomorrow. That is why such a coin is never rushed to market. It is studied, protected, and respected, because once it is gone, its story ends forever. The smallest coin can carry the largest prize. The 1952 1-cent coin proves that fortune does not always arrive loudly. Sometimes it waits, patiently, inside a single cent. The story of the 1956 1-cent coin begins in an era when America believed the future could only rise. It was a time of motion, confidence, and rebuilding, and in that atmosphere a small copper coin quietly entered existence, unnoticed and underestimated. No announcement marked its birth. No one paused to admire it. The 1956 cent was created to be spent, not remembered, and that expectation shaped its destiny in ways no one could imagine. At first, it lived an ordinary life. It moved through markets, pockets, and hands, exchanged for simple needs. Each exchange erased its identity a little more, pushing it closer to invisibility. Yet invisibility can be protection. While loud objects are used and destroyed, quiet ones survive. The 1956 cent learned to survive by being ignored. Time passed, and millions of coins disappeared through wear, loss, and melting. But a few resisted time's erosion, holding their form, their sharpness, their original character. These survivors became something else entirely. Not just money, but witnesses to decades that passed without them changing at all. A flawless 1956 cent feels unnatural today, like something that escaped its own era. Its surface seems frozen, its details untouched, as if time chose to spare it. Collectors feel this immediately. There is a tension in the air when such a coin appears. It does not feel like finding change. It feels like uncovering a secret. Value is not about size. It never was. Value is about scarcity meeting desire, and few things ignite desire more than a perfect survivor from a disappearing past. The 1956 penny carries the weight of contrast. It was made to be common, yet its survival makes it rare. It was designed to be small, yet its presence feels heavy. Some of these coins were struck differently, subtly, almost imperceptibly. The differences are not loud. They require attention, experience, patience. These tiny distinctions separate the forgettable from the unforgettable, and once discovered, they change everything. The idea that a single cent could hold unimaginable wealth sounds foolish until you understand how collectors think. They do not chase coins. They chase impossibility. Perfection is impossible to recreate. Once lost, it is gone forever. That is why untouched coins gain power with every passing year. The 1956 cent gains value not because of hype, but because time is removing its competition. Each year, fewer remain worthy of attention. Stories circulate quietly of people who spent such coins unknowingly, dismissing them as worthless. Those stories are not tragedy, they are lessons. Knowledge decides fortune. Those who know pause. Those who don't, spend. The market does not reward speed. It rewards restraint. A coin kept safe grows stronger while the world rushes past it. When collectors compete for the same rare survivor, numbers begin to lose meaning. Emotion takes control. Ownership becomes the prize. This is how values stretch beyond logic. This is how small copper discs become objects of obsession. The myth of overnight wealth is misunderstood. The wealth was never sudden. It was growing silently for decades. A 1956 1-cent coin does not create fortune by magic. It reveals fortune to those patient enough to recognize it. Every year that passes without damage adds invisible weight to the coin's future. Scratches avoided are fortunes protected. Some coins disappear because they are used. Others survive because they are respected. Respect is the difference. The 1956 cent teaches that history does not always live in museums. Sometimes it hides in drawers, boxes, and forgotten collections. To hold such a coin today is to hold a question from the past. Why did this one survive when millions did not? That mystery alone adds value no scale can measure. Collectors do not just buy metal. They buy survival, rarity, and silence that lasted decades. This is why such a coin should never be rushed to sale. Speed destroys potential. True value reveals itself slowly, when the right moment meets the right understanding. The smallest coin can carry the largest surprise. The 1956 1-cent coin proves that fortune does not always arrive loudly. Sometimes it waits patiently, inside a single cent.